I'm the biggest minority you know about. I don't want to hear that gay trash, man. I got gay friends I've had on the show. Because you don't know them or it ain't who you want on the show, you got a problem with it?
Arsenio Hall is finally speaking out, and the truth is shocking. In a candid revelation, the legendary comedian opens up about how his sacrifices for the sake of black comedy ended in personal and professional devastation at the hands of none other than Tyler Perry. For years, whispers of a Hollywood blacklist have surrounded Hall, but now he's breaking his silence, revealing the actual reason he lost everything. In this video, we dive deep into Hall's powerful admission and explore the painful consequences of his efforts to uplift black entertainers. Was it all worth it? Did his dedication to preserving the legacy of black comedy come at a devastating cost? Get ready for a story that will make you question everything you thought you knew about Hollywood's power plays and the price of success for black entertainers. Arsenio Hall is best known as a stand-up comedian and actor who made waves in the late-night world with his groundbreaking talk show from 1989 to 1994. His show quickly became a cultural phenomenon, offering a fresh take on the traditional late-night format. Arsenio's charm came from his laid-back style and the diverse range of guests he featured. One of the standout moments of the show was the iconic introduction by Burton Richardson, who would draw out the O in Arsenio's name before excitedly shouting, "Hall!" along with Arsenio's signature pose, head bowed, hands clasped, legs forming an A. It perfectly captured the relaxed yet vibrant energy of the show. The Arsenio Hall show broke barriers and became an essential part of pop culture, especially for its influence on music and its celebration of diversity. By making late-night TV feel more accessible to a wider audience, it left a lasting imprint on the entertainment landscape. Even though it's been over 20 years since it aired, the show is still fondly remembered, and its legacy continues to shape today's media. Arsenio was incredibly savvy. He managed to stay on top despite attempts by his competitors to keep big-name celebrities off his show. He's often credited with changing the way the public viewed political candidates, and one memorable moment was when he had a young, relatively unknown Bill Clinton on the show. In a spontaneous move, Arsenio invited Clinton to join the band and play the saxophone, a skill Clinton had developed in high school. Clinton jumped at the opportunity. Looking back, Arsenio said, "I got a little credit for showing him to a younger demographic, and I got a little credit for changing how people run for the highest office in the land." If the Arsenio Hall show had been around in 2016, it's possible the presidential election could have turned out differently, especially given the impact it had on Bill Clinton's 1992 campaign. Clinton's appearance on the show was key in helping him connect with young voters and the urban community, including people of color. His relaxed, charismatic performance, complete with shades and saxophone, made him relatable to a demographic that often felt disconnected from politics. In contrast, Hillary Clinton faced criticism for what some saw as pandering to the black community during her campaign. Bill Clinton, on the other hand, was often called the closest thing to a black president before Obama, thanks to his unique ability to connect with a wide range of people. Had Hillary Clinton had the chance to show her relatability on a platform like the Arsenio Hall show, it's possible her appeal, especially with younger and urban voters, could have been stronger. The show had a way of humanizing candidates and making them more accessible, which could have influenced the election. But Cochran's dedication sheds light on how Hall had a much bigger, often overlooked influence on global culture. Arsenio used his unapologetically black late-night party to spotlight talented musicians of color, including hip-hop artists who were largely unknown to white audiences at the time. Whether it was East Coast, West Coast, or the new Jack crossover pop, they were all featured. This was just a year after Yo! MTV Raps launched and a year before In Living Color and Fox's hip-hop-centered programming. Cochran tweeted, There weren't many places to see our artists and our culture on mainstream TV. More proof that diversity in entertainment matters. Cochran posted some classic clips that will take you back in time. Paul wasn't playing around, she added. The bookers for the other late-night shows probably didn't even know what a DF or Foo Nickin was. She said, but Arsenio did. Then she shared a clip of the late Luther Vandross, who was a guest on Hall's very first show alongside Brooke Shields and Leslie Nielsen. It took my breath away, she remarked. Vandross performed a quick a cappella version of Let Me Take You Home, a song that's forever etched in everyone's memory. It was like he never left us. My first musical guest was this man, and Mara, I know you know, she continued. The song's themes of longing and intimacy deeply connected with listeners navigating their own emotions and desires. But now, looking back, they realized Luther's longing came from a completely different place. Vandross, who was a closeted gay man, passed away in 2005 before he could witness the growing acceptance of LGBTQ+ individuals in society. He didn't want to upset his mother, even though she might have known, she explained. But he wasn't going to come out and say it to the world. In a 2017 interview with his friend Patty, Vandross revealed that he chose to keep his sexuality private, mainly out of respect for his largely female fan base and to avoid upsetting his mother. This insight was shared by Leal on Bravo's Watch What Happens Live, offering a glimpse into Vandross's personal struggles and the difficult decisions he made. One can't help but wonder if Arsenio Hall, had his show continued, could have played a role in pushing societal acceptance and understanding forward. Unfortunately, the show was canceled due to declining ratings. However, Queen Latifah created a touching farewell segment where Vandross paid tribute to Hall, acknowledging the profound impact he had on the show's audience and American culture as a whole. Vandross's words highlighted the deep affection and gratitude he felt for Hall, emphasizing that his departure left a significant void in American entertainment. People love this man so unconditionally, and he's been part of our lives, done so much for us, Vandross said during Hall's final show. I'm sad to see you go because America's going to have a big chunk missing. In the early 90s, while many black comedians drew inspiration from Richard Pryor's raw, cutting-edge humor, Arsenio Hall stood apart by crafting his own unique style, one that managed to reach audiences of all backgrounds. With his infectious smile, dynamic presence, and relatable perspective on life, Hall brought a refreshing blend of humor that transcended racial boundaries. His comedy wasn't just for one demographic. It resonated with people from every walk of life. Through his nationally syndicated Arsenio Hall show, which ran from 1989 to 1994, Hall created a space where the black community had a voice that was often absent in late-night television. He covered issues and perspectives that were sidelined by mainstream media, offering an unfiltered, unapologetic view of the world that reflected the experiences of many people of color. Hall's candidness was a hallmark of his show. This is cable, so I can say it like I really feel. That's a plain war. That's what I really felt, you know, magic, he said during one episode, perfectly capturing the raw, authentic energy that set his show apart from others in the late-night landscape. At a time when figures like Jay Leno, Johnny Carson, and Conan O'Brien dominated the late-night scene, Hall's show played an important role in pushing boundaries and spotlighting black artists. The late 80s and early 90s were a pivotal time for hip-hop, yet the genre had very little representation on mainstream television. Shows like Yo, MTV Raps gave hip-hop some visibility, but it was often confined to a small window of airtime. Despite the growing influence of artists like NWA and Tupac, mainstream media often painted them as controversial figures, limiting their visibility. Arsenio Hall, however, was a champion for black artists, giving a platform to figures like Eddie Murphy, Michael Jackson, Will Smith, and Snoop Dogg to express themselves authentically on a national stage. They were able to appear on his show without fear of being censored or misrepresented, showing the world who they truly were, without apology. Hall's love for his work and the entertainment industry was clear. When asked what he hated most about show business, his response was simple but profound. "I don't hate anything about show business. I don't hate it. I love what I do and I love this business. I love it all." Comedy has always been a powerful tool for social commentary, and Arsenio Hall used his platform to address issues affecting urban communities while providing entertainment. The Arsenio Hall show was unique in that it not only spotlighted underrepresented entertainers, but also facilitated important conversations about the realities of life in America, especially for people of color. One of the most memorable moments came when Hall brought together prominent gangster rappers like Eazy-E, Ice-T, and NWA, some of whom represented rival gangs, to perform the powerful anthem, "We're All in the Same Gang." This iconic performance was a collective denouncement of gang violence, showing how music could unite even the most divided communities. Hall also used his show to discuss pressing social issues. He invited Magic Johnson to speak openly about the stigma surrounding HIV and brought Louis Farrakhan on the show to discuss the Nation of Islam and the lasting legacy of Malcolm X. During a time when the nation was grappling with the aftermath of the LA riots and increasing concerns about police brutality, Hall became a voice for unity, positivity, and hope within the Black community. His show was a space where difficult conversations could take place and where artists and leaders could come together to inspire change. However, with the rise of new competition from late-night shows like those hosted by David Letterman, Jay Leno, and Jon Stewart, the Arsenio Hall show began to see declining ratings. Despite this, Hall's show made a lasting impact before it came to an end in 1994. One of its final, most iconic moments was a historic hip-hop cipher that brought together legendary artists like A Tribe Called Quest, MC Lyte, KRS-One, and others. The performance served as a powerful farewell to the show and to Arsenio Hall, highlighting the deep connection between Hall and the artists who helped define an era. After his successful run as a talk show host, Arsenio Hall continued to carve out a notable career in comedy and acting. He co-starred with Eddie Murphy in the beloved Coming to America and voiced the character of Winston in the Ghostbusters cartoon, among various other television roles. His career remained vibrant, but in 2013, when CBS announced the return of the Arsenio Hall show, anticipation was high. Fans were eager to see the iconic host back in action, but the show's brief revival highlighted a sobering reality. Despite years of progress, many things had stayed the same. Police brutality remained a prominent issue in national conversations, and late-night television still overwhelmingly catered to cisgender white men. When Hall returned to the late-night landscape, he was up against heavyweights like Jon Stewart, Stephen Colbert, and Conan O'Brien. Yet, Arsenio still stood out with his signature style and his dedicated audience, the Dog Pound, who enthusiastically supported him with their trademark fist-pumping chant of "woof, woof, woof, woof." Even with this loyal fan base, the second iteration of his show wasn't able to maintain momentum, and the revival was short-lived. While the 2013 revival of the Arsenio Hall show may have been brief, it offered a much-needed shift in perspective for late-night television. Arsenio brought an authentic voice that was rooted in the Black experience, something that was sorely lacking in the genre. While shows like The Daily Show with Trevor Noah have followed, they often still operate within the narrative framework set by Stewart and Colbert. Representation alone is not enough. The perspectives must be grounded in authentic experiences, and Arsenio's revival demonstrated the power of bringing that authenticity to the forefront. Arsenio Hall has been outspoken about how the tables have turned in Hollywood, particularly as figures like Tyler Perry have risen to prominence. Perry's journey from the Atlanta theater scene to major box office success with his Medea series is undeniable. However, his ascent hasn't been without controversy. Perry has faced rumors of clashes with influential figures, including Oprah, and his reputation for having a strong ego has often been a point of discussion. In Hollywood, where competition is fierce, it's hard to navigate without stepping into some controversy, and Perry has certainly encountered his share. As Hall reflected on the shifting landscape, he pointed out, "When I'm hearing all this noise, it was crazy because there were no black people on television before diversity became a thing. Tyler Perry was the only one out there for a long time." In the early years of his career, Perry was one of the few to break through in a meaningful way, paving the path for other black entertainers in the industry. After making his mark at the box office, Perry transitioned to television, where he found success with the hit sitcom House of Pain. However, things took a turn during negotiations for a syndication deal and a spin-off series titled Meet the Browns. Reports surfaced that Perry had dismissed 4 writers who had sought union contracts, sparking controversy within the industry. Writer Terry Jackson expressed his frustration, telling Deadline, "We were good enough to create over 100 episodes, but now when it comes to reaping the benefits of the show being syndicated and having other spin-offs from it, he decides to let us go unless we accept a horrible offer." Tyler Perry responded to the dispute over his writer's room by taking full control of the creative process, stating that he would handle all the writing himself. This move was a reflection of Perry's desire to maintain autonomy over his work, ensuring that his vision was executed exactly as he saw fit. However, his issues with unions went beyond just the writers. In 2015, both the Actors Union SAG-AFTRA and Actors Equity took action against Perry's production company by barring their members from participating in his stage play, Media on the Run. This was due to Perry's refusal to sign union contracts, highlighting his ongoing tensions with organized labor. While Perry's focus on maximizing profits and maintaining creative control has led to significant commercial success, it hasn't earned him unanimous approval within the industry. As his television successes like House of Pain and Meet the Browns continued to dominate, Perry came under fire from some members of the African-American community as well. Jamaila Lemieux, an African-American journalist and cultural critic, wrote an open letter to Perry, which was published by NPR, expressing her discomfort with the stereotypes often portrayed in his work. In her letter, Lemieux criticized Perry for his portrayal of black characters, particularly in his portrayal of the matriarch, Mother Dear. She said, "Through her, the country has laughed at one of the most important members of the black community, Mother Dear, the beloved matriarch. I just can't quite get with seeing Mother Dear played by a 6'3" man with prosthetic breasts flopping in the wind. Our mothers and grandmothers deserve much more than that. Heck, our fathers and grandfathers deserve more." She acknowledged Perry's defiance of Hollywood's traditional structures, but also pointed out that some black audiences shared the same criticisms that white critics had raised about his work. Spike Lee, the renowned filmmaker, has been one of the most vocal critics of Tyler Perry's use of stereotypical characters in his work. Lee has openly addressed this issue with Perry, expressing his belief that much of what Perry produces falls into what he calls coonery and buffoonery, even though he acknowledges that Perry's films are financially successful. Lee suggests that it's precisely these types of movies, full of exaggerated one-dimensional characters, that have been breaking records. But despite the box office success, Lee believes the industry could do better by moving away from these biased portrayals. Perry's casting choices have also been a point of contention for some viewers. There's a perception that Perry often casts darker-skinned actors in villainous roles, while lighter-skinned characters are more frequently depicted as heroes. This trend has sparked debate among his audience, who question the implications of these casting decisions on how colorism is represented in his films and shows. One such critique highlights a recurring trope in Perry's work: the portrayal of a pitiful black woman being abused by a no-good dark-skinned man, and ultimately being saved by the perfect light-skinned man. During a public event, Chris Rock also weighed in on a recurring theme in Tyler Perry's films, pointing out the lack of complex, kind, and respectful portrayals of dark-skinned boyfriends. Rock highlighted this by referencing the late Tupac Shakur, suggesting that if Tupac were alive today, he might not be cast in a heroic role in Perry's films. Tupac might be a political leader if he were alive, but then again, Tupac might be in a Tyler Perry movie right now, Rock said. He might be the bad, dark-skinned boyfriend in the Tyler Perry movie. Rock's comment underscored his belief that Tupac, an influential and charismatic figure, would likely not be given a leading, positive role in Perry's films due to the director's casting patterns. "I would hope he's a senator, but he might be kicking Jill Scott down a flight of stairs in a Tyler Perry movie," Rock quipped, further emphasizing the negative roles often assigned to dark-skinned characters in Perry's work. This perspective echoed the sentiments expressed by Spike Lee, who has been a longtime critic of Perry's portrayal of black characters. Both Rock and Lee shared concerns that Perry's casting and storytelling choices may contribute to a harmful cycle in the industry, one that perpetuates biased portrayals and limits the range of characters available to black actors. They argued that while Perry's films may achieve commercial success, the industry's potential for growth and diversity could be stifled by these stereotypes. The entertainment industry, particularly Hollywood, has faced growing scrutiny for its issues with colorism and other systemic problems. Social media campaigns, often amplified by hashtags, have helped shift the conversation, with movements transitioning from Twitter to mainstream news outlets in real time. One of the most significant moments in recent years was the rise of allegations against Harvey Weinstein, a former powerful Hollywood figure who was eventually convicted of sex offenses. In 2017, his sexual assault allegations shed light on the industry's darker underbelly. A new documentary delves into Hollywood's troubling culture, suggesting that some influential figures in the industry have used their positions to exploit young, aspiring actors. The Me Too movement brought many of these issues to the forefront, igniting a series of scandals that rocked Hollywood. One such scandal involved comedian Kevin Hart, who stepped down from hosting the 2019 Oscars after past homophobic tweets resurfaced, adding another layer to the ongoing controversy. The Oscars So White campaign also gained momentum, highlighting the lack of diversity in Hollywood's most prestigious awards ceremony and calling for greater recognition of people of color and marginalized communities. In the wake of these scandals and criticisms, Hollywood's once glamorous image has been significantly tarnished. The famed Walk of Fame, which once symbolized success and prestige, now seems more like a symbol of shame, with its stars losing their luster. In the midst of these ongoing controversies, Kevin Hart's decision to step down from hosting the Oscars further emphasized the industry's reckoning. He posted a statement on Twitter, explaining, "I have made the choice to step down," marking yet another instance where Hollywood's internal issues could not be ignored. In the 1940s, on a February afternoon, actress Hattie McDaniel made history by winning the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress for her role in Gone with the Wind, 1939. McDaniel became the first African-American to receive the prestigious award, marking a significant achievement in cinema history. However, her victory was bittersweet. While she celebrated this historic moment, the harsh reality of racial segregation was impossible to ignore. McDaniel was forced to sit separately from the rest of the Oscar attendees, as the ceremony was effectively a whites-only event. What should have been a moment of unbridled celebration was overshadowed by the segregation that defined the era. 8 decades later, the film industry continues to wrestle with issues of racial discrimination, despite some strides in diversity. The 2020 Oscar ceremony, for example, was marred by familiar racial controversies. One notable omission was the failure to nominate Lupita Nyong'o for her exceptional performance in Us, 2019, a glaring snub that underscored the ongoing struggles faced by people of color in the entertainment industry. Tyler Perry's work has become a prominent example of the recurring issue of limited and stereotypical roles for black actors in Hollywood. One of the most noticeable patterns in his films is the tendency to cast black-skinned actors as villains. A prime example of this is Steve Harris, who played Charles McCarter in Diary of a Mad Black Woman. Charles, a successful lawyer, is far from the ideal husband. He shockingly reveals to his wife, Helen, that he has another woman in his life, and then proceeds to treat her cruelly, ultimately kicking her out of their home. The challenges of limited and often stereotypical roles for black actors were especially evident in the 1990s. Blair Underwood recalled that during this time, nearly every black actor and actress in Hollywood, regardless of their fame or talent, found themselves auditioning for the same roles. Another example of Perry's casting choices can be seen in Madea Goes to Jail, where Ion Overman played Linda Davis, a negative character. Linda is a jealous assistant district attorney engaged to Joshua, but she secretly engages in illegal activities, including fraud, evidence tampering, and falsifying legal documents related to people she has prosecuted. Ron Rico Lee portrayed Chuck, another assistant district attorney and Joshua's friend in the same film, while Brian White played the antagonist Randy in I Can Do Bad All by Myself. Randy is an abusive boyfriend, reinforcing another villainous role for a black actor in one of Perry's productions. These examples highlight the ongoing trend in Perry's work of casting black actors in negative, one-dimensional roles that often perpetuate harmful stereotypes. In Tyler Perry's movies and shows, there's a noticeable trend where many of the negative characters are abusive toward women. This has raised significant concerns, and many viewers have spoken out about it. A few examples of this can be seen in his shows Bruh and Sistas. Brew centers around the lives of four black men who navigate relationships, friendships, and their careers. The show's synopsis emphasizes the deep bond these men share, which is more like family than mere friendship. Their close-knit dynamic is reflected in the cheerful and warm smiles seen in the promotional materials, suggesting a positive and supportive environment among them. On the other hand, Sistas focuses on the lives of four single black women. The tagline, "Single but never solo," implies that the show will explore the challenges and experiences of these women as they navigate the ups and downs of being single. However, the promotional image of the show presents separate pictures of each woman, rather than showing them together as a group. The series seems to highlight their individual journeys through the dating world and their personal lives, but it doesn't seem to emphasize their friendships or careers in the same way Brew does with its male characters. Tyler Perry's film A Fall from Grace also faced criticism, particularly around issues of colorism. The film tells the story of Grace Waters, played by Crystal Fox, a woman who attempts to move forward with her life and find love again after the painful experience of her ex-husband's affair. As she grows closer to her new husband, portrayed by Maycod Brooks, Grace uncovers unsettling secrets about him. Her vulnerability leads to a downward spiral, with her being accused of murder and fraud, eventually landing her in prison. The movie delves into themes of love, betrayal, and the consequences of one's choices. Perry's films, like Acrimony, often spark lively discussions on social media platforms such as Twitter. Some viewers criticize Perry for his frequent portrayal of the trauma black women face at the hands of men, while others defend him, arguing that he is simply highlighting real-life issues that resonate with many black women. These debates underscore the impact of Perry's storytelling, provoking conversations about the complexities of relationships and the challenges faced by black women. One internet user voiced their frustration saying, "Tyler Perry refuses to produce a show that doesn't involve the emotional torture and beating of the downtrodden black woman." On the other hand, another user praised Perry's journey, writing, "Tyler Perry has literally gone from sleeping in his car, broke, to having a net worth of $600 million, opening a huge studio in Atlanta to employ aspiring black actors and actresses. So put some respect on his name. His movies tell the pain women go through." While Perry's contributions to the black community are widely acknowledged, critics argue that he should still be held accountable for some of the troubling portrayals in his work. They point to instances in his films and TV shows where black women are depicted negatively or subjected to harsh, painful experiences. Some also suggest that Perry's storytelling reinforces respectability politics, suggesting that it's the only way his characters can find happiness and success. There are also concerns that Tyler Perry's level of creative control might overshadow other talented black and brown female writers and directors in the industry. This was evident in his adaptation of Ntozake Shange's play For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow is Enough. Critics argue that Perry's dominance in the industry can sometimes limit opportunities for other voices to be heard, especially those of women of color. These concerns are part of a broader desire for more nuanced and responsible portrayals in Perry's work. It's not just actors who have expressed dissatisfaction. Many black comedians have also voiced their frustration with his approach. Over the years, several black comedians have incorporated cross-dressing into their routines, often using the contrast of their strong presence and the visual humor of wearing dresses and heels to generate laughs. While this can create comedic moments, it also raises deeper questions about the implications of using cross-dressing as a comedic device. As Dave Chappelle once pointed out, with certain dots, like when I see that they put every black man in the movies in a dress at some point in their career, I'd be connecting that. Like, why all these brothers got weird dress? Tyler Perry's success is not confined to the gospel play world. He has skillfully transitioned into the film industry, bringing his distinctive storytelling to a wider cinematic audience. Perry once described his works as a stage play. It's like Broadway, just with black people. His influence extends beyond film and stage. His book, Don't Make a Black Woman Take Off Her Earrings, even earned a place on the prestigious New York Times bestsellers list. This raises an interesting question. What's behind this phenomenon? Why do artists like Perry engage in acts that challenge traditional masculinity? And why do audiences respond so eagerly to seeing black men in such unconventional roles? One possible explanation is that portraying black masculinity in a more feminine light could help reduce the perceived threat and create a sense of comfort for certain viewers. These cross-dressing depictions may act as a contrast to the more dominant and aggressive image often tied to hip-hop culture, offering a softer, less intimidating version of black manhood. The entertainment industry, particularly Hollywood, has long been criticized for perpetuating stereotypes that shape public perceptions of black individuals. For many black artists, limited opportunities have often meant accepting stereotypical roles in order to maintain their careers and livelihoods, which has led to a broader debate within the industry over the pressures faced by black performers. The entertainment industry still hasn't achieved full racial equality, but modern performers do have more agency over their choices. What remains particularly fascinating, though, is the ongoing trend of some black men taking on cross-dressing roles, with Kevin Hart being one of the most notable examples. Many people have voiced strong opposition to seeing black men in dresses, arguing that the trend has reached its peak. They point out that society already has plenty of influences that can harm the perception of black masculinity, and there's no need to perpetuate these stereotypes any further. As one person put it, when things happen that can possibly affect your brain can be diminished, and you don't want that to happen. So protecting my brand is definitely a priority. It's a disheartening reality that this ongoing portrayal of black men in dresses has become a point of contention. It feels like the phenomenon has gone as far as it can, especially when considering how many other societal factors already challenge black men's masculinity. In contrast to Perry's approach, Arsenio has made a significant impact within the comedy scene, supporting fellow comedians and contributing to the late-night TV landscape. Shows like The Tonight Show and Ellen have featured groups like Migos, helping to further shape the space. While Ario may not be returning to the late-night scene anytime soon, his upcoming stand-up performances at Goodnight's Comedy Club are expected to offer a rich mix of comedy and personal insights, keeping his influence alive in the entertainment world. And that wraps up today's discussion. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think the entertainment industry is doing enough to address the portrayal of Black masculinity, or do you believe more needs to be done? Drop your comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.